Now, as you can see on this map, they have managed to drastically just take advantage of the fact that Israel is been crushing Iran, is been crushing Hezbollah, is been crushing Hamas and the pro-Palestine forces, the jihadist forces around, and they are caught in their weakest moment. And that's what they believe today is the reason that the rebels decided this is our key. Now, was Israel involved? Why did it happen immediately after the ceasefire? Was America involved? It does. I spoke to a lot of my Syrian friends and I asked them, who would you want to win here? And they all told me the same. They said that the rebels in Syria are about to take down the Syrian regime, fighting against Assad, against Russia, against Iran, against Hezbollah, against some weird Palestinian faction that are operating in that area. And we are witnessing history in the making. Now, in this video, I'm going to try to break it down for you and help you in a simple way to understand who is fighting who and who is better for us. By us, I mean America, the West, Europe, Israel, the Western forces, and who is better, which outcome is going to be better for Russia, for Palestine, for Iran, for Hezbollah, for the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, the answer for that is it's complicated. And that's why, to be more responsible, I contacted some of my friends from Syria. One of them you might know, his name is on Instagram, is Syrians Love Israel. That's his channel. Go check him out. He's very knowledgeable. Unfortunately, he had to hide his identity and his face due to safety for himself and for his family in Syria and in Europe, which kind of shows you a big problem that we have right now with the radical Islam that have entered Europe and the West. But either way, the guy is very knowledgeable. I also spoke to some of my relatives in Syria, trying to get a better understanding. And that's what I'm going to bring it to you. So without further ado, let's jump in and see. First of all, you see, this is a map that is going to help you understand what's happening. The green is where the rebels used to control for many years back. The blue is where the rebels have expanded right now and managed to take it from Syria. The red is an area controlled by Assad, by the Russians, by Iran, by Hezbollah, and supported by some pro-Palestine weird faction, we're going to talk about it, that is operating in that area and is helping Assad. The yellow on the top is where we see the Kurdish. That's the forces that are in some ways endorsed by America, by the West. I forgot even to mention Turkey. They have a big role in this thing. And as you can see in this picture, it's a whole mess over there. We got ISIS in it, we got Turkey, we got America, we got Russia, we got allegedly Israel maybe behind the scene. We have Daesh, I said that, we have Hezbollah, we have Palestinian forces, we have so many weird forces all involved in that war that is happening right now in Syria, and we're going to try to explain it. So the active forces, that's as per my Syrian friend. First is the Syrian armed forces backed by Russia and Iran. They support Assad regime. The second group is Hayat al-Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, an Islamic group, a designated terrorist organization allegedly supported by Turkey. That's very interesting. Syrian Democratic Forces, number 3, SDF, Kurdish-led and backed by the US, focused on fighting against ISIS. As you all know, ISIS and the Kurdish have been having a fierce fighting from the beginning. ISIS have kidnapped many Kurdish and Yazidi children, daughters, made, the whole sex slave trafficking of children and women and selling them for all kind of people. Some of these women that were kidnapped by ISIS from the Turkish were ended up in Palestine, given to a Gazan man to marry at 12 years old, which he got her pregnant. So there's a whole terrible story that is happening there, and they have a role in this whole conflict in Syria. ISIS, a jihadist group largely defeated but still active globally, recognized as a terrorist organization. We all know ISIS. They kind of had their prime during the time of Obama, and after, when Trump came, he managed to crush them pretty well, but they're still active out there. Here's an interesting picture. You see this guy here in that picture? He is part of the rebels, but he's wearing an ISIS flag. So that kind of complicates understanding who are these rebels, and we're going to try to talk about it. And then we have the pro-Turkish rebel group, include factions within the Syrian National Army supported by Turkey. And that's the main force that we're seeing right now, trying to topple the Syrian regime, to take down Assad and to kick out of Syria, Russia, Iran, Hezbollah, and pro-Palestinian factions. What a mess. Now, to help better understand the situation, let's take it about a millennia back. The conflict that led to this conflict that we're seeing right now started way back. It didn't start on October 7. They started basically in the death of the Prophet Muhammad. When the Prophet Muhammad died, he had his relative Ali caring for the body of Muhammad, and he was preparing the body for the burial, washing it, putting, all the preparations so the body can have a dignified burial. Now, why Ali was doing such a holy and important job? Because he was considered to be the closest to Muhammad. The other warlords that was with him in that faction, I'm calling it warlord because the beginning of Islam started literally by a faction of warlords going basically looting, destroying, and conquering. Then the religion kind of followed on the go, and a lot of the stuff that we see in the religion were fitted to help them continue this conquest, this colonization of the Middle East and etc. that happened to come after. So that's why a lot of the theology of Islam doesn't really fit in back with history. They kind of rewrote back history to make it fit for their political needs. So the warlords that were with Muhammad over there, they all sat in a room in a council, started talking, okay, who is going to take this kingdom, this empire that came out of nowhere? Before the Prophet Muhammad came, we were all Bedouins living in tents and basically fighting each other and raiding each other's. He came and he made us an empire. And now, who's going to take over the empire? And they all decided to come and anoint Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr became the Khalifa, became the leader of Islam. When Ali came back, he felt betrayed. He felt stabbed in the back. What do you mean you elected him? I'm supposed to be. I'm the relative. I'm the closest to the Prophet. And it started a bloodthirsty war between the Sunnah and the Shia, the people who went after Ali, the people who feel like they were betrayed were the Shia, and until today they hate each other. They're fighting each other to the death, and the Shia can't wait to basically destroy the Sunnah and have them pay for their sins in the judgment day to come. And the Sunnah see the Shia as infidels, as kuffars, and want to destroy them because they're going against the Khalifa. One of the very controversial rules that we have in Islam, which permits Muslim to lie openly, started under the Shia. Was called the taqiyya because the Sunnah is the majority of the Muslim world and Shia was kind of a minority. So in order to help them survive, they were allowed to lie and to deceive people so they are not being identified. So that's where that rule that allows Islam to lie came from, under the Shia, although it's kind of applicable for the Sunnah as well. But it was mostly there to help the Shia survive under the regime of the Sunnah while we're trying to survive. So now you better understand that the people of Assad, the Alawi, they are seeing themselves connected to Ali. Yes, they have their own little tweaks and they brought some Christianity into it and some weird stuff to put it all together, kind of Islamic Christianity influenced religion, and they put a lot of focus on the leaders that they have. But bottom line, they are part of the Shia world, and that's why they are in the same bed with Iran, with Hezbollah, and in some weird ways even with Palestine. That is the main reason that we're seeing the battles happening, and they hate each other more than they hate the Jews sometimes. Now, as you can see on this map, they have managed to drastically just take advantage of the fact that Israel has been crushing Iran, has been crushing Hezbollah, has been crushing Hamas and the pro-Palestine forces, the jihadist forces around, and they are caught in their weakest moment. And that's what they believe today is the reason that the rebels decided this is our key. Now, was Israel involved? Why did it happen immediately after the ceasefire? Was America involved? It does smell all over the place like there were some kind of forces playing behind the scenes, and it won't surprise me if the CIA or the Mossad had a thing to do with that involving, because they're always trying to see how they can actually balance the Middle East and create more stability. But to create a stability among your allies, you need sometimes to destabilize your enemies. So we're seeing that happening right now. What is the reason? It's not really understood. Also, another interesting part. Are these rebels friends for Israel, for the West, for America, for Europe? And the answer for that is it's complicated. They're Sunni. No one really knows right now exactly who is their leader. It is believed to be a guy by the name Muhammad al-Jawlani, not Golani, al-Jawlani. Now, this guy, bear in mind, is a wanted terrorist. He have a $10 million award on his head by America, by the United States. Here you can see his picture. Some of the descriptions here are pretty funny. They go and they say, you know, sex, date of birth. He's from Syria. He's a male, hair color black, eye color brown, complexion olive. So I guess Middle Eastern's complexion is considered olive. So maybe I am olive green. Long story short is it believed to be led by a mass murderer, a big shot terrorist that is leading them. Also, we know that they have a lot of pro-ISIS factions in them. I'll give them that. Since they started, and that's quite unique when you see radical Islam operating, since they started, we don't see videos surfacing showing them beheading their enemies, showing them killing people, showing them kidnapping women and children, things that were very commonly seen in Palestine by Hamas or by Hezbollah or by these forces. It's not seen there by ISIS. Also, we see quite a lot of videos that they're treating their enemies even relatively fairly. They're not, once they're caught, they're not just executing them and lynching them. They're actually telling them, it's not your fault, etc., giving them water. Also, we see a lot of videos where they're helping Syrians reunite with their families. I mean, watch this video. This is a very interesting video. Watch this video. This is in Aleppo. He's going back to surprise his mom. Cover your head. That's a very Arab thing to ask her, so she's not going to be seeing the camera without the head cover. You know, let me stop you right there. There's something very interesting here that maybe people don't understand. It might go above your head. In places like Syria, in places that are under radical Islam, you know how terrifying it is when a bunch of men knock on your door in the middle of the night? Do you know how terrifying that is? Also in Palestine. Hamas, Fatah, they keep kidnapping their own people, torturing their own people, falsely accusing people of being collaborator with Israel or being gay. And anyone knocking on your door in the middle of the night will scare the living hell out of you, especially if you're a woman. She was probably terrified right now. What is happening? Who are these guys? You start thinking, is this the end? Is this going to be a terrible end? Are we going to be taken to a basement of Hamas and being tortured there to death? So we'll admit something that we haven't even done, etc., and etc. So that is a terrifying moment. But look what happened next.
مرحبا يا أمي. مرحبا يا يود. شلونك؟ ابنك أنس وينك؟ وين روح يا الله. اللهم لك الحمد. اللهم لك الحمد. اللهم لك الحمد. بعد غياب سنين.
That's hard. Beautiful.
خول أنس خول.
So many poor people got separated.
خول.
His brothers. The amount of suffering that the people in Syria have been enduring by their own people, by their own government, by Iran, is heartbreaking. The level of death that we've seen there, so many families got separated, so many families got obliterated. I've met Syrian men here in Germany that are basically hiding their identity from Islam because they're trying to detach themselves from the Sharia and from everything that happened in Syria. And they share with me that until today, whenever they hear a motorcycle passing or a helicopter, they get panicked. Because there were kids in school when the Assad regime was flying helicopters above these cities and dropping kegs and barrels of explosives onto schools, onto mosques, onto markets where civilian people were there, literally killing them right, left, and center. More than 500,000 people have died there in this horrible way by the government. We're talking about citizens died like that. And he told me that so many times on the way to school, he'll see a market just blow, or while he's in school, part of the school will blow in front of his eyes and his friends will die. And he is a young man today. I can't share his name for his own safety, but I interviewed him for a podcast. And once he will feel safer, he told me he's still living in Europe and there's a lot of Syrian communities here. Many of them are real refugees, but many are just radical jihadists that infiltrated here. And he said they have a very strong grip on the Syrian community and he's afraid for his life. So he asked me, after I interviewed him, he asked me not to post the video. But once he feels safer, we're gonna do that video. I hope he managed to feel safer. But for that to happen, Europe need to get their crap together and to make it a safer place for people that are standing on the right side of history and not a safer place for radical jihadists, pro-Palestinian, peaceful, violent demonstrators. Either way, that's the reality in Syria, and that is, wow, just heartbreaking reality. So he was telling me that every time he hears a helicopter, he gets panic attack. He feels like he needs to get away from the windows and etc. That was my point. Here's another interesting fact that you need to know about the forces in Syria, and I want you to watch this video.
تحميه لا تستحق العيش فيه نموت لتحيا سوريا وفلسطين إن شاء الله بالتوفيق.
These are rebel forces. Well, let's continue the video and I'll tell you in a second.
سوريا من رشد الإرهاب لتحرير كامل الأراضي السورية وإن شاء الله تحرير فلسطين مع فدائية الجيش العربي السوري قوات لواء القدس في البادية السورية.
So these are pro-Palestine. These are basically Palestinian forces in Syria. That's why a lot of people in Syria. So let me give you a little bit of background about these people. They're called Fariq al-Quds, and this force was established about 1988 and has about 21,000 fighters. It participated in battles during the Iran-Iraq war, as well in Bosnia, Afghanistan, Iranian Kurdistan, the Syrian civil war, the war against ISIS, and other wars in Yemen. They identify themselves as a force to liberate Palestine. They are very much pro-Palestine and pro-Assad and pro the regime. And it is known to be drastically involved in this war and committing terrible crimes against the people in Syria. With that said and done, you need to understand that there is also pro-Palestine terrorist forces that are with the rebels. So it's not like it's only with that. So my point is, we don't fully know the stand of these rebels about Palestine and Israel. They are coming and saying right now that they are not pro-Palestine and they are willing and open to talk with Israel. Do they really, can we really trust that? Are they just saying that right now because they're hoping that Israel might help them win this battle? Or are we just going to end up having another Iraq or Afghanistan here and Syria is just going to completely collapse and become a state of terror? That possibility is very much on the table. And that brings us to one of the points that some people might not fully understand. My friend Luay from Dubai said that in a recent interview that he had with Tzvi Hezbollah in Israel. And he said very clearly that the concept of democracy does not naturally fit the Muslim world, the Arab world. It doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It doesn't mean that democracy is the right solution for everyone. He's saying that culture actually wants and need a strong leader. They want to follow a strong leader, a moral leader that will bring them to a better future. And bringing them democracy is not necessarily the good thing. It actually can cause way more destructions and damage in that culture. So democracy does not necessarily fit for everyone. Democracy does not need to be reviewed as the best, most perfect solution for everyone. It is a very good solution for the people, for Christians and for Jews and for Westerner people. To help maybe explain that in a very short word, Islam, Christianity, Judaism. Why does democracy work better on Christianity and Judaism? Jesus, which was a Jew, came and was confronted by other religious Jewish people that were trying to trick him. And they wanted to make him slip in his tongue. And they came and said that was during the time where there was a lot of corruption in the priesthood in Israel. And they came and they told him, you see this coin? And they showed him a coin, you know, not necessarily this is a Homeland Security coin, but he said, you see this coin right here? And they practically said this, should we pay taxes to Caesar? Obviously the Romans are pagans, they are God worshippers, they are, you know, oppressing us. Should we pay taxes to them? And they wanted to see if he's going to slip in his tongue. And he came and he told them, show me the coin. And he grabbed the coin and he said, you see this coin? Which picture is on it? And they came and said, oh, that's the picture of Caesar. So he made a very important statement there. He said, give to Caesar what to Caesar, to God what to God. And by that, he basically separated state and religion. And he led to the separation of politics from religion, which later on took away the power that the church had over its people to enforce all kind of weird religious wars and crusades, and led to democracy as we see it today. In Judaism, it was pretty much the same. They kind of kept it a bit separate, you know. There was one tribe, the Levites, their job was to focus on religion, focus on the tabernacle and everything, keeping the faith among the people. All the priests, the Kohen, were from that group. the Levi and the Kohen. The rest were religious people. They were worshiping their God. They were bringing their sacrifices and bringing their tithing to the temple, to God, but they were living their life separately. So that was easier for Judaism and Christianity to separate and adopt later on democracy, which brings a value that all of us are equal, the human is in the center, you are important, and no one else is more important than you. We're all equal, and we're here to help each other all rise up. Islam came as a later religion, and that's why they got kind of screwed from that deal, because Islam came and made a newer religion that covers all aspects of life, including governing and taxing and etc., and it made it bulletproof to be able to get out of it, because they came and said anyone that comes and says any word against the Quran or anything that is contradictory to the Prophet's word needs to be killed immediately. Anyone that stands against the word of the Quran needs to be killed immediately. Anyone that tries to leave Islam needs to be killed immediately. So basically they made it almost impossible to criticize it and to try to improve it and to get out of it. Now that is a very dangerous immunity system that is attacking your own cells, that is, what's the word for that? Self-immune. Well, anyway, you get my point. That is a very dangerous immunity system that is attacking your own body and that is not allowing you to improve or heal or advance. So maybe for the Muslim world, it is true that it's not necessarily the best thing to have freedom for everybody, because then you end up having so many terrorist organizations. Now, if these rebels will take Syria and will kick away the Russians, Hezbollah, Iran, basically, let's say it that way. The rebels winning in Syria is definitely going to be bad for Assad. It's going to be bad for the Russians. It's going to be bad for the Iranians. It's going to be bad for the Palestinians. It's going to be bad for the Houthis, and it's going to be bad for the Shiites. Is it going to be good for America, for Europe, for Israel, for the West? That question is not that clear. Because are we going to replace a failing country run by a dictator and end up having a failing piece of land controlled by war tribes of radical terrorists? Then that's not necessarily going to make it better for Israel. It's definitely not going to be good for Syria. It is going to be good for Turkey. They're going to win from that situation because they seem to be very involved in trying to topple down the Assad regime. However, Turkey is clearly adopting the Muslim Brotherhood. And that is, I think, that's where the keys comes. Is it good for the West or not? It's not going to take away the danger of the Muslim Brotherhood. And the danger of the Muslim Brotherhood goes beneath the surface, and it catches the Sunni and it catches the Shiite, because it's trying to bring them back to what they see as the golden age of Islam, where Islam was in a goal, in a conquest to conquer the world and enforce Sharia law on the world. And the reason that Islam is losing is because they abandoned their core beliefs and their faith in that jihad, in that struggle, in that vision of dominating the world and making it all Muslim. So they're trying to go back to that. Sunni and Shia are in bed with that. Not all, but I'm talking it's affecting them. So is it going to bring Muslim Brotherhood? That's going to be catastrophic. Is it going to bring maybe a future where, with the involvement of America and the West, they might be able to push away Russia and the radical Syrian regime and all these forces of Palestine and Jihad and Hezbollah and the Houthis and push them all away? That might be interesting. It's very hard to see what's going to be the solution. I spoke to a lot of my Syrian friends and asked them, who would you want to win here? And they all told me the same. They said, that's a very tough question. Obviously, we want Assad and the Russians and the Iranians and Hezbollah and the Palestinians to be out of there. We don't want them to be in control. They've been killing and oppressing us. But we don't know for sure that these guys are going to be better. And when I say better, we're also focusing a lot about the Christian community, the Druze community, the Kurdish community, the non-Muslim communities there, as well as the Muslims. How are they going to treat these people? If they go Muslim Brotherhood on them, it's catastrophe. It's catastrophe for everyone. If they go the United Emirates on them, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, that'd be amazing. That would be just amazing. If they go Turkey on them, very shady, very shady. We don't know exactly where is Turkey leading, especially after Turkey realized that they're not going to be accepted into the EU because obviously they still have a lot of issues to deal with. Turkey have adapted more the Muslim Brotherhood approach and to be the leaders of Islam, bringing back the glory of Islam, but they're not taking it in the good way like, you know, Abu Dhabi and the Emirates. They're taking it more the Iranian way, you know, counter Iran, but behave basically kind of like Iran. So that's a very dangerous slope that Turkey might be leading to. Either way, guys, I hope I helped you understand today's video. Let me see if I forgot anything to share with you. I think I basically covered it all. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, feel free to go and do the subscribe, share, leave a comment, the whole shebang. It helps my channel grow. And if you want to help me keep doing these videos for you, because after all, I am doing this for free and out of my own free time, and this has become my main source of income. Go and check my Patreon where you can find direct practical ways that are fitted for you to help support my work. Either way, we're trying to grow this channel and to make it bigger. The bigger the channel is, the more audience you can reach, and also the more interesting guests I can start inviting to this channel. And I have a lot of interesting guests that I want to invite, challenge them, or let them just speak their mind and bring you the best content that I can bring you. But for that, I do need your help, especially the subscribers, to help share this channel. It's still a small channel, and I'm doing it all by myself right now as a one-man army. And I'm hoping to start getting some help to come in and help me so we can do a better job pushing this content and making it better and help it reach more and more people. But for that, I do need your help. So until then, guys, stay safe and don't do anything stupid. In general, just... In general, what? Oh, I got one for you. In general, if you're a student in the US or Europe and you're looking to support something, so don't go too fast supporting the rebels. I mean, it's still better than supporting the Houthis and supporting Osama bin Laden and supporting Hamas and Iran, which you guys seem to do in the West, which is very bizarre. But don't jump too fast to support these rebels. We still don't know where are they going. So let's wait, let's stay tuned. And obviously you're not gonna support Israel, America, or the West. For some reason, the academy in the US and in Europe have become so bizarrely weird that they always choose to support anything that is against their values of Western civilization, if it's communism or radical Islam. Either way, don't jump in supporting these guys yet. Don't keep supporting the Houthis, Hamas, and all these bad guys and Hezbollah. Wait with that in Palestine. But wait before you jump on supporting these guys. So yeah, until then, guys, stay safe and don't do anything stupid. It's not a Snoopy, but it'll do. Oh, phone call.